Our guest this week on the podcast is Britt Joannides. Britt is a chiropractor from South Africa, currently living in the UK. Outside of chiropractic, she has a huge passion for women's health and spreading information about the menstrual cycle and hormonal health. She works as a part-time fertility awareness educator, where she teaches women how to track their cycle to avoid pregnancy or to achieve it naturally. She is also currently training as a menstrual cycle coach, which will later be offered as a service for her business, Cycle-Centric. Britt is in the process of creating a women's health-focused chiropractic hub where she will integrate her FAM and cycle coaching into alongside her chiropractic practice. In this episode, we will explore her journey through endometriosis and how Fertility Awareness Method, known as FAM, was an essential piece for her healing journey. Welcome back. I am so excited that you have joined me again in the Aligned Womb, Aligned You podcast. I'm Kate Nagai, and I am your host and womb guide on this journey. I'm here to help you to lean into the language of your menstrual cycle so that you can align yourself and awaken and activate to your womb wisdom to live the most inspired life. I am so excited to jump into this episode and to dive into today's topic. So let's get started. I'm so excited to have you here, and I'm really excited to dive in to these two conversations that we're about to merge together. But before we jump into all of that, I'd really like to know a little bit more about your journey and your journey with endometriosis and how you ended up being curious about the menstrual cycle. As women, we all have something as this little catalyst that gets us curious about our period, gets us curious about, what our rhythm is and learning about our hormones. And yours, as I understand it, is all around your endometriosis journey. So would you mind sharing a little bit about endometriosis and your journey into understanding your cycle?
Yeah, definitely. First of all, thank you so much for having me on today. I've been super excited about this conversation. So I'm going to try cut a long story short. I'm not very good at doing this, but I'll try my best. But I was on the pill for 7 years and just kind of took it because I was in a serious relationship growing up and my parents thought it was the right thing to do, as all of my friends were on the pill. So I just took this pill every single day without even thinking about it. And I'm a chiropractor, so in my chiropractic studies, I was learning a lot about the body, but we never really touched on the menstrual cycle at all. So it was actually I followed a girl on Instagram of all places, and she was talking about Alyssa Vitti's book, Woman Code, and she was kind of advocating, and this was back in 2017, 2018, she was advocating for coming off the pill and talking about all the negative side effects. And I read the book because I'm a very curious person. And I decided in that moment to come off the pill. Like I finished the book and I was like, what have I been doing all this time? So much to my mom's apprehension, I went off the pill because she just don't want me to have a pregnancy in my studies, right? So yeah, I came off the pill and I felt great, on top of the world. I felt like I don't know, I just felt so amazing. It's almost like, I don't know, I just felt like I went from monotone to just vibrancy and color. It was such an amazing feeling. And that didn't last too long. My world came crashing down a couple of months later, and I got my first endo symptom. I came off the pill in the August, and in the January, I had my first endo symptom, which for me was actually blood in my stool. So, as a chiropractic student learning about the body, I was like, that's a red flag. Like, that's not normal. So I didn't freak out. I kind of just tracked it along with my period, and I realized that it kept on happening at that same time of the month. And that's when I found endometriosis and like the end stage colorectal endometriosis, which I kind of self-diagnosed. And that just sent me down a rabbit hole of research and finding out everything that I could know about this one topic, as I do with everything. And I saw a gynecologist who kind of brushed me off, didn't really understand the body, offered me the pill again. I kind of was really disheartened by that situation. And then I just went deeper and deeper into the natural route. I wasn't diagnosed until a couple of years after that, actually, by a endo specialist when I was living in Cape Town. And again, I said to him, is there no other natural way of dealing with this? And he kind of gave me his options of surgery and going back onto the pill, which again was really upsetting for me because I had spent all that time coming off the pill and trying to regulate my cycles. So I kind of gave up on the Western way of dealing with this. And that's when I went into nutrition. I looked a lot into nutrition. I found a naturopath, a homeopath, and then eventually stumbled upon a functional medicine doctor who honestly has changed my life and has inspired me to dig even deeper into natural healing and health. And she just changed everything for me. So, yeah, that was a mouthful. I don't know if you want to ask any other questions, but yeah, I kind of Western medicine said go left, and I went right, and I went really far down that rabbit hole and just found out as much as I could about endo. And that's what sparked my interest in the menstrual cycle. And then I stumbled across this whole community of cycle coach school and Claire and everybody. And yeah, it just kind of grew from there. I just haven't stopped learning.
I love it. So did you find that nutrition had a huge impact on your endometriosis and on the symptoms that were presenting?
Yes, definitely. When I was on the pill, I was vegetarian. So when I came off the pill, I was still vegetarian. And then I went down. I'm a very empathetic, love animals kind of person. So I just didn't want to eat them. And it was a lot of it was an ethical thing for me. And then my functional doctor was the one who said, would you ever consider eating animals again? And she really worked on my mental and ethical reasoning and eventually got me to eat some animal products. And that's honestly, that's when things just got so much better. My endo symptoms were the worst they had ever been when I was vegan. And it just changed when I started eating. I started with fish and eggs, and I've slowly but surely brought in some chicken. I have a ritual now where I have some red meat after a bleed just to almost replenish. I was really iron deficient. So it's definitely played a role in
Mhm.
my endo.
It's really interesting that you mentioned that because I'm not a big red meat eater. Like I don't crave it, I don't desire it. And there's something about my bleed days that I'm like, okay, now I want red meat. Now and it always makes my husband very excited because he's like, yes, we get to have steak, or yes, we get to have hamburger. But otherwise, I'm not a big red meat person. But the bleed, there's something in that my body really, and I've learned to listen to that and go, okay, you know what? I need this. I need this for a reason. My body's craving it. And I always feel so much better. And my bleeds, I feel, are really nourished, and I don't have a lot of the symptoms of period pain or cramping or bloating. So it's, yeah, listening to our body is really important. So
Yeah,
now you mentioned that you went far to the other side. What were some other things in endometriosis that your functional physician was recommending to you to do? So obviously the nutrition, the including the meat into the diet. What were some other recommendations to help with endo?
she went a lot into my mental health as well, and more so my not my mental health, yes, but also my emotional health, and actually into my relationship with my mother, which was a tricky relationship for me growing up, and it's now healed and it's beautiful. But she went into that. My first consult was basically she took like. I'll just go back to how I filled in the intake form. It took me like 2 hours to fill in her intake form because it was so detailed. And she just went into absolutely everything. And she took all of the puzzle pieces and just put it together for me. So the
Mhm.
first consult was basically just me talking about my family and where I came from, who I am, how do I fit into my family. I think I grew up too quickly, just looking back on my childhood. But yeah, she went into the emotional stuff a lot. And in stress management, I was working really long hours. I was not taking a break. She also recommended that I read In the Flow, Alyssa's second book.
Yeah.
And she said, "Oh, you need to start living more cyclically because you are just burning yourself to the ground. You can't live the same way every single day in each phase of your cycle." So she definitely brought in the cycle work with me. Trying to think what else we did. It was a lot of supplements as well. We got she took my blood levels as well, so it wasn't just like winging it.
Yeah.
She saw that I was vitamin D deficient. My iron was super low. She tasted my cortisol, and she just realized that I was just super, super stressed. And she helped me understand that a stressed body is a body that's not going to want to procreate, because you'll always survive before you procreate. And obviously that's where your menstrual cycle comes in. So we were using my cycle as a bit of a sign of what was going on. And then I just personally delved even deeper into the cycle. So it was everything. It wasn't just, that's why I love functional. It's not just here's your diet or here's supplements. It really goes deep, and it made me appreciate that we are mind, body, spirit. Like, we're not disconnected. It was such a beautiful experience, actually. And I'm grateful for endos. Where does that sound? Like, if I didn't have this condition, my life would not be looking the way it is. And I'm so grateful that I get to help other people to do the
Mhm.
same, and to just understand that there's another way of approaching this, without surgery, without pills, without the pill. So yeah.
Yeah, and I totally hear you on that of really appreciating when we hit a roadblock, and a big roadblock. Like, for many of us, it is a health concern that transforms the trajectory of our life. For myself, I didn't know anything about the cycle. Like, I didn't understand that we had more than one phase. For me, it was just that you had bleed days and that was it. I knew a little bit about ovulation, but I really didn't even know how to track ovulation. Like, everything was very foreign to me. And then I went through several ectopic pregnancies, and it was at the advice from a practitioner, or from like a doctor, a medical doctor, that I just remove body parts, remove my fallopian tubes, and move on with my life. That it just didn't settle with me. It didn't feel right for me. And so that's when I did the hard turn and went far extreme. And when I say I went far extreme, I went far extreme. I did Reiki, I did energy healing, I did anything that may have possibly worked. I know that I read this book once that I think it was called You Can Get Pregnant, I Did Too, or something like that. But it was her topic journey. And she mentioned things of like jumping on trampolines and carrying a rose quartz crystal. And I was like, I'll do it all. I'll do it all. And I healed my body, right? And so, yeah, I think that sometimes when we're faced with this big life challenge, when usually our health, it makes us reflect on everything. And then it does give this beautiful gift of an opportunity to redefine your life and to recreate what it is that who you want to show up as, what you want to do for your body, right? This is no longer just bones for me. This is my vessel to get me from point A to point B. And I always come home to it when I need to look at how I want to align my life, right? Looking at what kind of career I want. Do I want that much stress in my life? How I parent, how I manage my relationship with my husband, right? Like, it always comes back to like, what is my body telling me? So I think that's beautiful that you shared that.
Oh, that's amazing. And I totally, yeah, I resonate with the fact that you say it's a massive, like, rock bottom. Like, I feel like if I didn't hit rock bottom, I would still be doing the same things, eating the same foods. But it's almost, endo keeps me on track. It keeps me in alignment with my health, and the health consciousness that I've got, or how health conscious I am, rather. Because if I don't stick up to my good routines, then my cycle tells me that that was a bad month. Like, you need to deal with your nutrition a bit better. So it definitely keeps me on track.
Yeah. And I love that. I love that you share that, your condition, it keeps you checking back in, that your cycle is always talking to you. Because I think this is one thing, and it's a gift that we're just not taught, of how important our menstrual cycle is to really guide us in what is our medicine. Instead, most women are left feeling like we're broken, we're disempowered. We have to give all of ourself to medical professionals to fix us, and we don't see that we have the resources in our own fingertips, that we can't help to navigate our own body. And that's probably the biggest gift that I got out of my journey and learning about the menstrual cycle, is now that I see there's so much wisdom in my body. And now that I understand my cycle and understand my unique rhythm, that's not the same as everybody else's, I can navigate my life, or I can have more self-compassion. I think the self-compassion, the self-love was a big one for me when we're talking about the emotional and mental, is because there's nobody in this world that could beat me up more than I could beat myself up with the emotional bat, right? Of I'm not enough, I didn't do enough, why did I snap? And now understanding my inner fall or, that PMS phase, it's such a gift because I know day 19 like I just need to lock myself away from the world because it's not about them, it's about me. And it's my body signaling to me, this is your day of taking time for you, right? It's not your day to give to everybody else because you've just done that for a very long time of 2 weeks. So this is the transition day of step aside, and then you will have more energy to give to people the next day. And it's just such a beautiful gift.
I love it. I love all of that. We should all be tracking our cycles. Like I wish everyone knew how to do this. It's so important.
Well, since we're talking about that, what day of your cycle are you on? And what does that mean for you?
So I am on day 17. My last two cycles have been a little bit weird, actually, like a bit shorter. I've ovulated earlier in my cycle. I used to ovulate on around day 18. And I wouldn't know this if I wasn't tracking my cycle. I've got like 2 years worth of actual, like confirmed ovulatory cycles. And it's just interesting that I have ovulated earlier. So I'm actually in the first day of my luteal phase right now. I am just waiting for my third high temperature to absolutely confirm that. But based on cervical mucus, I have confirmed ovulation. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling mentally really like clear, and I feel like my brain is working. It's not like a luteal phase where or day like later luteal where I can't focus or bring words to my front of my brain. I'm feeling really calm and really, yeah, I'm just feeling good. It's a good day for me.
I love it. I'm day 26. So
Yeah.
I usually bleed around day 27, 28. So I know that I'm just on that cusp. So like for me this morning, it was like, okay, what comfortable pants can I put on? That's like no tightness on the belly. Like I really wore clothes that kept me warm and that just feel like a blanket. And then I have nothing planned for today. Today is like, it's my low key day. It's just taking it easy. So and I have soup in the fridge so that I can nourish myself with bone broth. And so, like, yeah, knowing this day, I know how to care for myself. So, talking about the cycle, though, your endo journey and working with your functional practitioner led you on the journey of learning about FAM. Do you want to tell a little bit about what is FAM and how it really transformed your life, or how you got into this place of using it for your endometriosis and going off the birth control pill?
Definitely. So it was actually my functional practitioner who told me about FAM. And when I went off the pill, I naively used a cycle tracking app, and I didn't really know that it wasn't accurate at that time. So I just used an app to track literally just my period. I wasn't tracking anything else. I just tracked my bleeds. So I did that, and didn't have any pregnancies, thankfully. I think I was also quite cautious, should I say, during that time. And then I heard about FAM, and she says, no, you can actually accurately confirm ovulation, and there's different rules, there's different methods. And she referred me on to somebody that she worked quite closely with, and I took her course. I was like, yes, sign me up. I definitely want to know more about this. It opened up a whole new world, and I was just overwhelmed with, wow, why don't we get taught this? I know we haven't been taught about the menstrual cycle as a whole, but just the fact that our body tells us these things and gives us these signs every single day that we can use and interpret for birth control or for conception, I just feel like it's completely changed my life. So I went on the course, did the course. My husband did the course with me as well, because there was an option to have your partner on board, and I do feel like it's not only my responsibility. I definitely have the view that it takes two to tango, and this is not my burden only. Like we both need to be involved in this decision. So we did the course, and it was just so amazing and so informative. And I then decided, like, how do I spread the word of MCA, so menstrual cycle awareness? I was already doing this kind of just with friends and family, just talking about the cycle through my own reading. But then I needed a concrete way where I could actually really teach people how to do this. And so after I moved to the UK, I had been here for a couple of months, and I decided that that was what I wanted to do, is I wanted to study to be a natural fertility teacher or a FAM educator. There's a few different words that you can use to describe what we do. And it was about a 6 month course that I did, and it's honestly it's been mind blowing, and it's just opened another way that I can help people really accurately. So I now, outside of my chiropractic work, on in my part time, in my spare time, I'm building a FAM business where I am teaching people how to track their cycle. Most of my clients are for contraception purposes, but then I do have one or two that are trying to conceive at the moment. So it's just so much fun. If I could look at charts all day, I would be such a happy girl. um, so that's what led me to FAM, and being able to confirm ovulation, being able to track temperature, being able to absolutely know that I'm in my luteal phase now, or I'm in my follicular phase. Because that's the thing, is a bleed is a bleed. We know that that's our bleed. But ovulation is a little bit more tricky, unless you know what you're looking for. So if you can really confirm ovulation day, that was important to me to try and live more cyclically, was to confirm that ovulation, because then it just splits your cycle in the other two halves. So yeah, it's been amazing, and I'm excited for what the future holds.
Hey ladies, if you're feeling stuck in the cycle of burnout, overwhelm, and just feeling out of tune with your body, I've got something transformative for you. Introducing Cyclical, Reclaiming You. It's a 9-month program designed to help you tap into the power of your natural hormonal cycles and reclaim the balance in your life. Whether you're juggling a demanding career, motherhood, or just trying to make time for you, this program is about syncing your life with your body's natural rhythms to create more ease and joy. Over 9 months, you'll be guided through hormone hacks, sacred feminine practices, and deep wellness tools to help you not just survive, but to thrive. You'll learn how to balance your hormones, prevent burnout, and harmonize your feminine energy so you can show up as the most empowered self. Ladies, you don't have to keep running on empty. This is your time to reclaim your health, vitality, and the life that you deserve and have dreamed of. Head to the link in the show notes below for the Cyclical program and sign up today. And as an extra special bonus, for this round only of the Cyclical program, I am offering a discount of 50%. This is a one-time offer that will never happen again. So make sure you go in and click on the link in the show notes to get this one-time special offer. Join Cyclical, Reclaiming You, and start living with intention. You are so worth it. I really want to touch on that. You said that you had your husband join you on this, and that was important, because I think that's such an important message for a lot of women to hear, because we think that this is our body, or that men are disgusted by it, or men don't want to learn about it. And that, what I have discovered in my work and working with clients, is that is completely contradictory. Like, there's so many partners that are willing to learn about it, or that are kind of curious about it too, because honestly, it is a manual to understanding you as well as a human. And it can only really deepen your marriage. And I know for my husband and I, like, I'm not a FAM educator, but menstrual cycle awareness, the MCA method, like, my husband totally understands my cycle, and he understands when I say, like, I'm in my inner fall, or he gets what it means when I say that I'm in ovulation. We're no longer trying to have kids. We have our family built, but he knows that this is the fun time. This is the time that we can go on dates. Like, it's more than just sex, right? And so I think that it's so important for partners to understand it, because then they understand you, and they understand your ebbs and your flows, and they understand when you have boundaries, or when you're grouchy, that it's not necessarily about them, but what you need for care for yourself as well. So I don't know. I've heard so many stories from clients where partners they're interested in understanding the 4 different phases. They're interested in understanding what their partner is learning about their own body, and then going with that. So I can see it being useful for when you're trying to prevent getting pregnant as both partners, because once again, it's not birth control for one person. It is for both of you to have a better understanding of how pregnancy works. But then also just to really deepen your intimate connection and really know someone authentically and deeply. I think it's such powerful work that we can use.
Yeah. I agree completely with that. And he learned so much. And because this is now part of my daily routine and what I'm talking about all the time, he can tell you like exactly what the menstrual cycle looks like. He can tell you how you are in the different phases. He's had conversations with his girls or girlfriend, like friends that are girls, and he has a full on in-depth conversation with them about the cycle. And they're just like, how do you know so much?
Yeah.
And it's because I keep teaching him, and he treats patients as well in the clinic, and he has full-on conversations with these women about their cycles. And I think it's so amazing, and it's so lovely to witness that and to hear great feedback that he's not just, I don't know, a man's man. Like he's just, I don't
Yeah.
know. It's just so lovely that he has that aspect of knowledge that he can share with other people, and it's not weird for him. I get so
Mhm.
excited if I have like cervical mucus. I'm like, oh, babe, come check this out. And I like
Nice.
to show it to him, and I'm like, this is so cool. Like I made this. And so it's just so cool. Like we're very open about it, and he understands. And again, like you say, just understanding where I'm at in my cycle and what I need. And if I am snappy or moody or grumpy or whatever, it's not anything personal. It's just because maybe I'm in my inner fall, and that's just what it is.
hmm hmm And we have two daughters. And so that was one of my motivators to really helping my husband understand my cycle is knowing that he's gonna have to go through this with two other individuals in this household, right? And I think it can be so powerful and potent when we can use this for those other people in our life, for our daughters, for our nieces, if we're a teacher for the female students in our class, if we work with women, how we can help our clients or our coworkers, right? Like I think this goes beyond just like an intimacy thing. This is really creating respect around that there's two different ways to operate there, and women operate in a different way, and we have different needs, and we shift every month. So that's beautiful. Now, a lot of the times the menstrual cycle is talked about as the fifth vital sign. This is not something I think a lot of women really understand, but in the medical world and in the alternative medical world, this is something that we refer to all the time of the importance of the menstrual cycle being that fifth vital sign. Do you want to talk a little bit more about what classifies it as a fifth vital sign and why this is really important for women to know?
Sure. What I will start with is to say that I always feel that how healthy you are is how healthy your fertility is going to be. There's a direct link between your health and your fertility. So if you do have any health problems, I feel like the only way the body tells you this really is through your menstrual cycle. That's just a belief that I have. And in terms of it being a vital sign, if there are any changes or abnormalities, because we've got a normal range of what is classified as normal. Obviously, common and normal are very different. So pain is not normal, but it's common, for example.
Mhm.
But if we have like super long bleeds, if we have irregular cycles, if we have short luteal phases, there's a whole bunch of things that we can tell just by looking at someone's fam chart. The loss of a lot of blood can lead to iron deficiency, and that can have a knock-on effects in terms of your overall health. There's a few things I'm just trying to think of different examples, but for example, when your temperature rises in your luteal phase, we can check how much it's rising and how much is it staying risen, or is it kind of up and down, and is that enough progesterone that your body is producing. And there's ways we can use temperature to track that. Thyroid health is another one. If your resting or BBT resting temperature levels are below a certain number consistently over a few charts, we can then approach that as is this potentially a thyroid problem, and then deal with it in that way. So there's so much. I mean, they're classifying it as the fifth vital sign, which goes along with all the other vital signs, which are literally vital. That vital means life. Like if we don't have this thing in really good health, then it's a sign that something is going wrong in our overall health. So I would say that the menstrual cycle is a mirror to your overall health. I hope that
Mhm.
answers it. If you have anything specific, I would be happy to answer.
Yeah. No, I like that you said that it's like our health tells us so much. And I think a lot of people, when they hear the word health, they associate it with physical health.
Mm,
And health is multidimensional. Health is our mental health, it's our emotional health, and our physical health. And so, how we started off the conversation in the beginning of this, of the mind, body, spirit all being connected. When we look at our health, we need to look at those other health capacities, or those other bodies that we have, because you know being under chronic stress, we might feel like we're healthy, we might be at a good BMI, we might have no diseases, no inflammation that we know of, but if we are chronically stressed, that is going to impact things that aren't maybe visible to us at the moment, but they are going to compound and become very visible. And our menstrual health will show those indications sometimes, or will after it becomes a real big issue. So I would just like to add in that, of just the importance of also looking at our mental health and our emotional health, and how we feel in those two capacities as well. And so, is there anything else around FAM and around the FAM method that you want to share with the audience?
What I would say about FAM is it's not for everyone. So it is a way, it's an active process. When you take the pill, you kind of just take the pill and it does its thing. And if you have a condom, you just use the condom and you don't have to think about it with all these other methods of birth control. But with FAM, you do need to understand that it is a responsibility between yourself and your partner. So it is not for everybody. It's for people who want to go deeper, who want to understand their body, someone who's willing to track their temperature. So tracking your BBT is not just taking your temperature. There's a few things that have to be in place. So first is the actual thermometer that you're using. We need to use a BBT thermometer, not a fever thermometer. And when you are popping it in under your tongue, it has to be at the same time every single day. And then not taking out on that beep, but waiting for about 10 minutes is what the research shows to actually get that accurate reading. So it's an active process, and you have to take your temperature every single day. And then you have to be very aware of what your cervical mucus is doing throughout the day. There's different methods out there with FAM, but what I teach is your sensation. So when you're walking about, try to connect to your vulva. What are you feeling? Do you feel that it's dry? Do you feel like it's moist or wet? Or is there anything that you're noticing in that region? Then also your wiping sensation. So when you go to the bathroom, when you're wiping after using the toilet, is that slippery? Is that dry? What are you noticing with that feeling? So it's an active thing where you have to be really involved with your body. It doesn't take a long time each time you're doing these observations, but it does take a lot of learning. So the first sort of 3 to 6 cycles are very much learning cycles. And that's why it's a thing, it's a habit, it's a skill that you have to learn. So that's the first thing I'd say about FAM, is that it's not for everybody, but if you are wanting to go deep and if you are committed to your body and your health, and taking the 2 minutes at the end of your day to track what you've noticed throughout the day, and the 10 minutes in the morning to track your temperature, then it is for you. And there's no hormones involved. It's basically about understanding when you're fertile and when there's a possibility of pregnancy, and knowing when that fertile window is, and then making decisions based on that. If you're wanting to conceive, that's a good time for intercourse. If you're not wanting to conceive, that's a time for being extra cautious or using another method of contraception. It's not just, you might want to use a barrier method, for example, in that fertile window. So it's just about understanding what the body's telling you. There is a third sign as well, which is the cervix positioning, which I don't go into too much. But that's another way that your body is talking to you. So it's amazing. It's like nature is just giving us all of these signs, and if we just know how to interpret them, we can make decisions and different choices in that fertile window. That's what I'm trying to say.
No, that totally makes sense. What is your opinion on the different devices? Like, there's a few different rings. There's the Apple Watch that now takes temperature. There is the drop
Mhm.
band. Are you a strong believer in just the thermometer, or for people that are interested in doing this but don't have the desire to track their temperature at the exact same time? Because I know that's the tricky part, is knowing that each day it has to be at the exact same time. So are those things that you would recommend to people who are wanting to go on this journey, but feel the thermometer might be a little too intimidating for them?
So I love that question, and it's something I didn't touch on. So thank you for bringing that up. So when I started tracking, I was doing oral tracking, and then that became too stressful for me. I was like, I need to just have this temp drop, which is a wearable thermometer. So you wear it on the arm, just at the top here. You go to sleep, and then it just takes your temp for you. So I would say it depends on the person. If you're somebody who doesn't have children, who gets enough sleep, because you have to sleep for at least 3 hours, preferably 5 hours before you take your temperature in the morning. And like I said, every single day is the same time. So for people who have small children, for moms who are breastfeeding, for shift workers, for people who don't have a normal sleeping or a routine of a sleeping routine, for those people, I would say the temp drop is probably the best option. I did an experiment with myself where I've got an Apple Watch that tracks my temperature, and I was tracking both my oral temperature, which is super reliable, versus my Apple Watch. And in my little experiment over 2 or 3 cycles, there was no correlation. It wasn't accurate enough for me to confirm ovulation. So I don't think the Apple Watch works for FAM. I would prefer the temp drop or oral. I know one of my clients is using her Aura ring, and she's been using that using natural cycles. Before she found me, she was using natural cycles, which just tracks your temperature. So it doesn't open your fertile window, it just closes it based on your temperature. So we're doing a bit of an experiment with her where she's tracking both orally and the Aura ring. We're going to correlate the two and see if it's actually accurate enough. So that's what I would say about the temp drop and the Aura ring. There's lots of these devices that are coming out now. You don't have to be fancy. You can just use a normal thermometer. But the temp drop is definitely a win in my books.
I would love to hear what you come up with the Aura ring, because that's what I use, is the Aura ring. And I don't use it just for the temperature. Like, I bought it for all the features that it has. And I'm just intrigued by that. But yeah, that's great to know. So thank you for sharing that. As we wrap up our call here today, I'm always curious, and I always love to ask this question. Is there a womb-led tip that you would like to share with the listeners today on how they can just connect with their body, or your little hack or some kind of tip around cycles and being a woman, I guess?
So, what I would say to that is just start tracking your cycle. It doesn't have to be perfect, it doesn't have to be with a fam educator. Just start tracking and understanding how you feel. So, that's more the menstrual cycle awareness side of it. It's just day one is your first day of full blood. That is day one. And just start tracking how do you feel on those different days. If you really want to go deeper and use it for birth control, then I would, or for conception, I would then advised to find a fam educator who understands this really, really well. But if that's not what your goal is, then just track. Literally, it's not hard. Just track your cycle. If you feel something really sort of standing out in your day about your energy, your mood, your physical body, your emotional body, your mental body, whatever it is, just track your cycle. It's once you start finding patterns, and if you stray from those patterns, it could be a little indication that something is up with your health, and that's where it brings it back to the menstrual cycle being the fifth vital sign. So my advice is track your cycle.
I love it. I love it. And if people want to learn more about your work or follow you, how can they find you?
So I'm on Instagram. My handle is cycle_centric. And I have a website as well, which is cyclecentricfam.com. And my email address is britt@cyclecentric.com, fam.com.
Perfect.
So that'll be in the show notes, I'm sure.
Yes, all of it will be in the show notes. And where are you located exactly?
So I'm located in Leeds in the UK, in England. However, all of my fam work is done just like this online.
And so if there's anybody listening from that area in the UK, if you also want to seek her out for her chiropractic work and are curious about this, this is one of your passions, is try to merge your chiropractic work with your cycle work, and to start using both of them as a modality to help women come into their optimal health. So thank you so much for joining us today. It was so great to have you here and to learn more about the importance of FAM, and to hear another success story around endometriosis, and that This is not a sentence that is a life punishment or something that you have to suffer through your whole life. There are options, and there are many stories out there of people that have navigated through it, and have found different tools. It's really about looking at what your body needs and finding those right tools to help you come into your most vital self. So, are you excited about aligning to your cycle? If so, make sure that you subscribe to this podcast and like the episode if it really resonated with you. Until next time, remember, womb wisdom equals connection to self, which ultimately equals inspired living.